When a woman begins to lose interest, most men try harder. They plead, they prove, they chase. But what if the answer isn't in effort, but in emotional clarity? Today, we're going to explore how to distance yourself, not with bitterness, but with strength. Because sometimes, letting go isn't weakness. It's the beginning of becoming whole again. In a relationship with a woman who once made you feel acknowledged, valued, and significant, the change in her energy can be subtle at first. Perhaps she begins to distance herself gradually, casting doubt on your value in subtle ways, and you feel compelled to exert more effort, because that is what you have learned to do. Love demands effort, patience, and loyalty. Yet, there arrives a moment, whether subtle or intense, when you come to understand that she no longer holds you in high regard, and that truth resonates more profoundly than you anticipated. It awakens a deep feeling within you, yet before you create distance, before you take that initial step back, you must engage in an action that many are seldom instructed on how to perform. It is essential to recognize the discomfort. Endurance is not a sign of frailty. It is merely a stepping stone. It serves as a testament to what held significance for you, and it is essential to acknowledge that discomfort while refraining from allowing it to justify her actions. When someone ceases to value you, they are exercising their own choice. While this choice may cause you pain, it is not your burden to bear the consequences of their decision. Numerous individuals seek to justify their actions. Perhaps I fell short. Perhaps if I transform myself, she might return. Perhaps she is navigating a challenging period. These are protective strategies. We create narratives to postpone confronting reality, for the reality of being undervalued by someone we cherished can be too much to bear. However, let us confront the truth. Enduring pain does not imply that you must remain in that situation. Feeling lost does not imply that she was the right choice for you. Recognizing the pain does not mean clinging to it. Confront it head-on, ensuring it does not control you from the darkness. It is acknowledging the pain, accepting that it exists. Indeed, I experience feelings of rejection, betrayal, and dismissal. Yet I consciously choose not to allow that pain to define who I am. Understand this. The emotional pitfall lies in the belief that by enduring, loving, or suffering for an extended period, you can compel her to recognize your worth once more. However, that is not the nature of relationships, not beneficial ones. When someone genuinely appreciates you, there is no need to plead for understanding, for reliability, for affection. When that value fades, neglecting it only deepens the path of self-abandonment. Emotional detachment starts not with shutting down, but with understanding and acceptance. It starts with embracing your emotions completely, and yet making the conscious decision to step away. Let me clarify. This is not about adopting a cold demeanor or becoming emotionally detached. It involves reaching a level of emotional maturity where you recognize that while your feelings hold validity, not every one of them is based in reality. Pain may signal a loss of something you hold dear, yet wisdom clarifies that what you truly lost was merely an illusion. A person who truly loves and respects you would never have put you in this situation to begin with. Embrace your discomfort. Allow it to ascend. Allow it to express itself. However, do not compromise your worth in the face of it. Do not distort the past to portray her mistreatment as a fleeting error. Do not diminish your worth in an attempt to return to a place that offered you only partial affection. When you seek to rationalize her indifference, you start to undermine your own worth. And that is where emotional detachment falters before it has a chance to take root. The essence of emotional detachment is rooted in clarity, not resentment. It is understanding. It is recognizing that the pain we feel is rooted in the loss of our illusions, rather than the loss of love itself. You experienced love. You made an effort. Yet love, in its truest essence, is reciprocal. It is a matter of respect. It is acknowledgement. And when those fade away, so too should your emotional ties. You're not walking away because you lack concern. You're moving on because you've come to understand your own worth. In every relationship, there comes a moment when it is essential to shift your focus from emotions to the reality of the situation. It is possible that your feelings for her remain strong. It is possible to hold profound feelings, yet emotions by themselves cannot uphold what has lost its foundation of mutual respect. When a woman ceases to value you, it often starts with a gradual decline in respect. It diminishes gradually in the beginning, then suddenly it is gone. This is the moment of transformation. That is the moment when transformation occurs, regardless of your current willingness to acknowledge it. Respect serves as the bedrock of any meaningful emotional bond. When it is present, love unfolds effortlessly. In the absence of what we cherish, even the most intense feelings can turn burdensome, unbalanced, and draining. It is irrelevant how much history you possess, how many memories you cling to, or how strongly you believe in what once was. When mutual respect is absent, the bond you once shared ceases to exist. In this emotional negotiation, it appears that only one side remains engaged. The error that numerous individuals commit is believing they can regain respect by increasing their sacrifices, exerting more effort, or investing additional emotional energy. Respect is not earned by yielding. It is upheld by equilibrium. When she ceases to engage with you thoughtfully, when her attention drifts away, or when she begins to regard your reliability as insignificant, she conveys a profound message beyond mere words. She no longer perceives you as someone of importance. It is your duty, not hers, to acknowledge that moment as the definitive turning point. Emotional security cannot thrive in an environment where your presence is no longer valued. The most challenging aspect isn't the act of leaving. It's the recognition that remaining has turned into a form of self-betrayal. You reflect on the person she once was, the way she gazed at you, and the feelings that existed before the tides turned. Yet, that is merely the echo of memory, not the essence of reality. When you hold on to the past to rationalize your presence in the now, you have relinquished your emotional clarity. Understanding the absence of mutual respect does not signify surrender. It signifies that you are now perceiving reality for what it truly is, rather than through the lens of your expectations. It is possible to care deeply for someone while recognizing that their treatment of you no longer aligns with your growth. Value the bond you share, yet recognize that your inner tranquility holds greater significance than seeking validation from someone who no longer acknowledges it. This represents a level of emotional resilience. This is the discipline that many have not been instructed in. Do not pursue affection that is no longer reciprocated. Do not waste your energy on a vessel that cannot hold it. Do not mistake loyalty for the abandonment of oneself. It will reveal itself in subtle, understated manners at first. The detachment in her tone, the lack of engagement with your expressions. Your absence has dimmed the spark in her gaze, and you will seek to understand it logically. Perhaps she is experiencing fatigue. Perhaps I am engaging in excessive contemplation. Perhaps this is merely a transient period. Yet, within yourself, you possess the understanding. The emotional distance seems to be expanding, the warmth transforming into duty, the bond slipping into a monotonous pattern that transcends mere distance, that reflects a sense of detachment on her part. When respect fades, love begins to struggle, burdened by the heaviness of resentment and indifference. In that moment, when the void of respect resonates more profoundly than the warmth of affection. It is essential to prioritize your own well-being. Do not act out of anger, not in arrogance, yet in resilience. Remaining in a situation where respect is lacking does not safeguard the bond. It undermines your sense of value. Emotional detachment starts when you cease to expect her to revert to her former self and begin to respect the person you must become. Recognize that the absence of her respect does not determine your worth. Rather, it is your reaction to this situation that truly matters. The individual who prioritizes his tranquility over mere acceptance is the one who truly recognizes his worth. Emotional detachment transcends mere physical separation. That's merely the superficial action, the outward manifestation. However, the true effort, the profound change, occurs within the mind. It occurs when you begin to detach your emotional commitment. Contemplate your thoughts with clarity and purpose, your mental fortitude. Your persistent reflections on the past, the possibilities that never materialized, and the desires for change. Many individuals exit their relationships, yet find themselves still ensnared in the mental and emotional aspects of those bonds. Though their physical presence has faded, the essence of their inner world continues to orbit around her. That is not true detachment. That is suffering postponed. The individual who has lost appreciation for you may still linger in your mind. It's natural to feel the impulse to examine her social media, revisit past conversations, analyze her tone, and ponder whether she thinks of you or feels remorse. Whether she returns or not is beyond our control. These thoughts seem to arise without my consent. They emerge in stillness and seize you firmly. Be mindful, for they can bind you emotionally to someone who has already moved forward. This is where reality reveals itself. Healing cannot occur in the same emotional space that caused your wounds. Detachment is not synonymous with coldness. It is understanding. It's understanding that each moment you devote to overthinking her is a moment taken away from your own development. To achieve true detachment, reclaiming your energy is essential. It's essential to focus not only on your physical practices, but also on your emotional disciplines. That encompasses the tendencies of imagining resolution, yearning for a change, or anticipating a signal that she still holds affection. Release those habits. They represent subtle manifestations of neglecting oneself. When you remain emotionally committed to someone who no longer recognizes your value, you are complicit in your own disregard. You are persisting in the habit of prioritizing her needs, feelings, and opinions over your own well-being. That is what renders detachment a challenging endeavor. What may seem like betrayal is, in truth, an assertion of self-respect. Your worth remains intact, regardless of whether others acknowledge it or not. Caring deeply does not equate to emotional weakness. That level of care and intensity embodies true strength. It must be aimed at an individual who holds it in high regard. And above all, it must be safeguarded for your own sake. It is unwise to invest your emotional energy in a place where it is neither acknowledged nor valued. Cease the habit of monitoring her online presence. Cease the thoughts of how she might react to your success. Cease the mental exercises that envision her realizing what she has forfeited. Each of those thoughts anchors you in her emotional realm. That realm no longer belongs to you. Take it back. Take control of your mind. Take back control of your time. This is not about denying her significance. It's about recognizing that she no longer holds sway over the mental space she once inhabited in your thoughts. Your inner peace is a sacred space, not to be surrendered to those who fail to recognize your worth. Discipline is essential for true detachment. There will be times of vulnerability, Days when your thoughts waver, when you long for her, and when the hurt resurfaces. Yet those instances do not serve as indications to retreat. These are challenges designed to assess your resilience and ability to progress. Each time you prioritize your tranquility over your desires, you cultivate resilience. Each time you resist the impulse to connect, you strengthen your foundation. Detachment is a continual practice, not a singular choice. It is a consistent practice, a promise to your own well-being. Maintain an unwavering commitment to your focus. Redirect the energy and focus you devoted to her towards your own growth and well-being. Direct that energy towards your purpose, your objectives, your development. Allow the quiet moments to resonate with the growth you are experiencing within yourself. As your mind begins to settle and the relentless quest for answers diminishes, a deep realization will emerge. Detachment was merely a beginning. This marks the start of your journey towards self-restoration. One of the most challenging aspects of emotionally detaching from a woman who no longer values you is facing the reality of the situation. It is not the relationship as it exists in reality, but rather the idealized version you have constructed in your thoughts. The one that made you endure far beyond what was necessary. This illusion holds great strength. It's the recollection of the emotions she once evoked within you. Reflect on the way things were at the outset, the initial moments when affection seemed natural and genuine. That version of her, the one who regarded you with admiration, who valued your words as significant, who made you feel prioritized, is no longer present. And perhaps, if you reflect deeply, you will realize she has not been present for some time. The peril of emotional attachment is not found in the woman herself, but rather in the illusion we create surrounding her. We idealize her potential. We cling to fleeting memories of what once was, often overlooking the truths that surround us now. We overlook neglect, defend disrespect, and make excuses for coldness, all in pursuit of something that once seemed just. However, you must confront this reality with unwavering clarity. Individuals reveal their true selves through their actions, and when those actions diverge from the bond you once cherished, it is not merely a difficult phase. It is an unveiling. Emotional detachment is impossible when you continue to hold on to the idealized image of her that exists only in your aspirations. The version of her that once made you feel as though you were the focal point of her universe is gone, and perhaps she was never truly there at all. At times, we become enamored with the concept of an individual rather than the individual in their true essence. When they begin to stray, we grasp more firmly, not to them, but to the aspiration we fear losing. Yet, this is the truth. When you remove the excuses, the justifications, and the nostalgia, what is left is the individual before you in this moment, unmoved, detached, unconcerned. If the reality you face lacks mutual love, respect, and effort, it is your responsibility to awaken from the illusion and confront the truth. Emotional clarity cannot thrive where denial exists. This presents a challenge. Confronting the reality is akin to experiencing loss anew. You mourn the person she once was, and then you lament the future you envisioned alongside her. Yet, to achieve detachment, one must confront grief. It requires you to confront reality, no matter how difficult it is, and to let go of the illusion of who she once was, accepting instead the person she has evolved into. Emotional detachment is impossible when you persist in reviving someone in your thoughts. The journey of dismantling the illusion commences when you cease to view her lack of effort as a plea for assistance and begin to recognize it for what it truly is: a disinterest, a disregard, or a reorientation of focus that has moved away from you. It may not always stem from ill intent. At times, Individuals undergo transformation. Change that occurs without clear communication, change devoid of compassion, and change that makes you doubt your own value is not a burden you are meant to bear. That is an experience you are intended to leave behind. Facing reality brings clarity to the complexities of life, not simpler, but more straightforward. You cease to expect messages that remain absent. You cease to dwell on unfeeling reactions. Cease the justifications for the quietude. In that clarity, healing commences. You start to redirect your emotional energy inward, reclaiming it and restoring it to its rightful place within yourself. Shattering the illusion is the most freeing aspect of letting go. When the illusion dissipates, you cease to linger in anticipation. You cease your striving. You cease to require her to be anything beyond what she has already revealed to you. In embracing that acceptance, you ultimately discover your liberation. It's not about harboring animosity towards her. It's about accepting her as she is, without the desire for her to change. One of the essential realizations a man must confront when separating from a woman who no longer appreciates him is that his identity exists independently of the relationship. It is simple to overlook that fact. When you have devoted so much of yourself to another, your time, energy, emotions, and aspirations, the distinction between your identity and that of your partner starts to fade. She occupies the core of your emotional landscape. Your days revolve around her mood. Your goals depend on her support, and your self-worth hinges on her validation. When her appreciation fades, everything you built starts to come apart. And if you lack vigilance, so too does your sense of self. Emotional detachment transcends merely releasing her from your life. It's a journey of rediscovery. It involves taking back the aspects of yourself that were sidelined, silenced, or entirely overlooked while striving to uphold something that had long since crumbled. When a woman ceases to hold you in regard, it transcends mere pain. It challenges your sense of self. One begins to reflect on their value, their identity, and their capacity to receive affection. However, that does not represent true clarity. That is a misinterpretation of emotions. That is the consequence of allowing someone to diminish your worth, granting them too much influence over your sense of self. Your essence was present before her arrival, and it will endure long after she is gone. Your worth is not defined by her perception of you. Your worth is not contingent upon her validation, her focus, or her existence. As you start to recall this truth, as you begin to view yourself beyond the confines of the relationship, you will find the inner strength required to genuinely detach. You begin to realize that your existence holds significance that does not rely on her affection. And this is the moment when the change starts. You cease to ponder inquiries such as, why was my worth unrecognized by her? Begin to reflect on the reasons behind your own forgetfulness. That transformation is paramount. Emotional detachment does not equate to a cessation of feelings. It signifies that you cease neglecting your own worth in the pursuit of validation from others. It signifies that you cease to diminish yourself to conform to the limited space she has created for you. It signifies the process of reconstructing your identity upon a foundation that is unwavering. Your essence, your values, your mission remain steadfast, unaffected by her changing moods or waning interests. A man who embraces his true self becomes formidable in the most admirable manner. He now acts with calm resolve, free from desperation or fear. He finds his footing, sharpens his focus, and centers himself. He ceases the pursuit of external approval and begins to live in accordance with his authentic self. At that moment, the grip of her emotions starts to fade. not due to the compulsion to erase her from your mind, but because you have ultimately rediscovered your own essence. Re-establishing your sense of self demands unwavering commitment. It signifies dedicating moments to solitude, not solely in the physical realm, but also in the mental domain, silencing the distractions, clarifying what truly holds significance for you beyond her presence, what motivates you to persevere, what stirs your inner resolve, what obstacles compel you to evolve. Consider these questions to reflect upon each day. One must cultivate a sense of self-worth that is entirely independent of external validation, particularly not an individual who did not recognize its value. It also signifies establishing new emotional boundaries, not solely with her, but also with yourself. Cease the pursuit. Abandon the daydreams. Stop reshaping yourself into a version that could potentially win her back. The version of yourself that sacrificed inner tranquility for acceptance must be relinquished. From the ashes of the old, a renewed self emerges. A person who recognizes the worth of his time, his energy, and his aspirations. A person who recognizes that true love does not demand the sacrifice of one's own self. Restoration does not come from reclaiming what was lost. Healing comes from reclaiming your true self. Healing comes from reclaiming your strength through the practice of integrity in daily life. By choosing to be in the company of those who recognize your value without the need for persuasion. As you turn inward, her absence begins to fade, transforming from a sense of loss into a mere echo of what once was, and begins to resonate as an essential moment of transformation. Emotionally detaching from a woman who no longer values you is a process that requires thoughtful consideration. It is a path to be walked. As with any significant path, it demands time, deliberate effort, and most importantly, self-compassion and patience. This concluding phase is not about erasing her from your mind. It's not about denying the existence of pain or imposing an artificial timeline on your healing process. It involves dedicating oneself to a journey of healing that can be gradual, challenging, and uncertain. However, it is undeniably worthwhile. Healing is not a linear journey. There will be days when you feel resilient, clear-minded, and detached from what has come before. At times, her memory will strike you unexpectedly. A melody, a fragrance, a location once shared in companionship, and it will hurt. That familiar emotional weight will attempt to draw you in once more. That is not an indication of frailty. Such a sentiment reflects your profound concern. However, to care profoundly is not an excuse to stay immobilized. Recognize it, accept it, and then move onward. Healing involves embracing discomfort without allowing it to dictate your choices. It signifies the strength to withstand the impulse to connect when solitude weighs heavy, to examine her social media when curiosity arises, to revisit old wounds merely to experience a sense of familiarity. Embrace the role of protector of your tranquility. That signifies the decision to embrace discipline rather than succumbing to impulse. Particularly during times when your feelings may persuade you that retreating is simpler than advancing. Embrace the stillness within, the stillness that now fills the space once occupied by her words. The stillness that now occupies the space once filled with your reflections on her. Initially, that silence may seem overwhelming, yet in time, it transforms into something revered. In that stillness, you find the path back to your true self. Embrace your authentic essence, the individual you once were before the bonds obscured your clarity. As you navigate this journey, you choose to occupy that space not with reminiscences of her, but with intention, with development, and with significant relationships that embody your evolving self. True healing requires the practice of forgiveness, not merely of her, but of yourself as well. Allow yourself the grace to move on from the past, for caring with great intensity, for overlooking the indicators, for believing you could mend what was never yours to bear. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It liberates you. It empowers you to cease the self-punishment for the affection you offered, and instead begin to honor it. The issue lies not in the love itself, but in the guidance you provided to it. The deeper your healing, the less you find yourself yearning for closure from her. You cease to require justifications. You cease to dwell on the past in search of concealed significance. You cease to determine your value through her acknowledgement of it. Closure transforms from a pursuit of external validation into an internal gift you bestow upon yourself. You gaze into the mirror and come to understand that she was never lost to you. She lost the part of you that would have persevered through any challenge to ensure its success. That version of yourself has departed, not due to any sense of brokenness, but rather because he transcended the desire to validate himself in a place where he was never genuinely acknowledged. This is the phase in which your emotional detachment develops and strengthens. What once seemed like heartbreak now presents itself as clarity. What was perceived as rejection has transformed into a guiding force towards a new path. Your healing is no longer defined by the void she left, but by the profound respect you cultivate for yourself. You start to draw in tranquility, resilience, and a sense of value within yourself, not due to a facade of healing, but because you have genuinely achieved it. And you come to understand that the true triumph lay not in releasing her. The true triumph lies in embracing yourself completely, at last, and without regret. Emotional detachment signifies a new beginning, not an ending. This marks the start of all that lies ahead, beyond the struggles you face.